I get that everything nowadays has to be adapted to live action, but all I ask is that if you're going to do that, you do it well. What is well, I'm not really sure. Andrew, I really want your opinion on that. Hey, thanks for watching. This is I'm Not Wrong. I'm Jeff. That's Andrew. Let's get right into it. So, Andrew, my topic really stems from the release of season 2 of the One Piece live action that dropped yesterday. I have a lot of thoughts, but it's bigger than that, and I have a lot of questions I want to throw at you.
First comment, as soon as you said like the adaptation, like my instant response, and it's the response to a lot of these adaptations is it needed? It's why. It's Tell me that it's not just a lazy cash grab when you're out of an actual honest to God idea. Because and this could be old guy yelling at clouds here, but I've now lived through like a Point Break remake, like Red Dawn remakes. They're remaking everything. Everything's getting sequeled, prequeled, adapted, and it just feels lazy. Like, are we out of ideas collectively? That's where my thought instantly goes before we get into One Piece specifically. Just broader to me, it's tell me it's not just pure laziness.
So I don't disagree with anything you said. That's part of my issue with it. Is my issue is not purely One Piece. We'll get into that part in a minute, but my issue is exactly what you said. Number one, I don't think adaptations are not necessary 90% of the time. I will go so far as to say there are times, and normally the only time I think an adaptation, quote unquote, is necessary is like book into movie. That's a thing that's been done for a century now, since films became a thing. Gone with the Wind was an adaptation. I mean, like, so they've always been around ever since movies started.
Yeah, but I'm kind of a little disappointed because that was my only thought about when it would be acceptable. Because, reading books and stuff, finished this, I want a movie. I want a movie so bad.
You're really big on. Is this going to become the new segment? Andrew brags about the books he read as small trophies.
No, 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 no. It's more that, well, two things. One, it's directly in front of me, so it was a good segue. But two, like, I'm annoyed that we have the same idea
No,
about.
I'm annoyed by that too because I would love to argue with you on this, but I agree with you. Like so adaptations can be okay, but again, adaptations. I don't. My big problem is like adapting a book to a movie is you're adapting something that is not visual to a visual medium. That can make sense because you're taking something that is completely imagination and something people want to see in front of them and you're putting it in front of them. I think it's done poorly a lot of the time and I'd love to talk about that in a minute, but I do think it's good. Like my one of my all-time favorite movies, you and I discussed it, I think even the last show, is Lord of the Rings. Obviously adaptation. Now you could argue whether or not how faithful is that adaptation because as much as I love it, it's actually not an extremely faithful adaptation of the original work, which is something I'd like to talk about in a minute. Is how faithful does an adaptation need to be before it becomes a sacrilege to the source material? I want to put this out on record immediately. I don't think the Peter Jackson Lord of the Rings trilogy is sacrilegious to the source material. I think it's phenomenal. I think it's great film. I think the changes that were made, for the most part, not all necessary, but all work, and I think they're all okay. But I don't think that's true all the time. And what I hate seeing, and you hit on this before, is adaptations of something that already like something that's already visual. Turning a cartoon into a movie is unnecessary. Disney is guilty of this all the time. Every stinking Disney animated film now is getting a live action adaptation. Who in the world wanted to see a live action Lion King?
Time out. We really need to redefine what we consider live action. Because if it's all CGI and or green screen and there's just like an individual real life homie, I think live action doesn't accurately capture what's occurring. Because I guess the actor's live, but the action like just isn't. Like you remove CGI and
So I don't
clearly
disagree. I don't
you
disagree with that. I mean, obviously, the Hollywood definition is what it is. I don't disagree with that. I think that goes back to what we talked about before with Marvel movies, right? By that definition, virtually no Marvel movie is live action because none of them use practical effects.
no, it's such a blurred line now between You know what used to be almost like the 3D computer generated anime movies and big budget Hollywood? Like the bleed over is wild now in terms of just overall graphic quality. But anyway, we're getting way off track here. What I would say is we'll forgive a lot in an adaptation if it's done well. But well is subjective. And to
It,
this point, we are going to discuss Dune, Jeffrey. Because I have a favorite, you have a favorite. They're different, but have you read the books?
I've read like half of the first book. I have not read. First of all, I've not read all of the books, and
Okay.
you don't need to for the movies because they're really only for Dune, the
Hmm.
original book. I have read half of Dune. I have not finished Dune. It's okay. I don't like it as much as a lot of people do in
Okay.
terms of as a book.
Fair.
But I've read enough and wikied the rest enough that I know what the story is.
So I admittedly don't have that story background. I don't know. My point of reference for Dune was the original, like, 80s movie that apparently a lot of people don't like. I think it's incredible. I think it is a great movie. I have minimal notes. I think the little sound wave gun things are great. Jean-Luc Picard is the man as always. Stings in it because why not? It is a great movie to me.
Let me ask you. I mean, I'm not going to debate your love of this movie. We've had this discussion.
Yeah.
But when you say great movie, like a great, truly a great film, great production value, great acting, great performances, like, or it's a great movie in the sense that you feel nostalgic and you enjoy watching it. It's okay if that's the answer, but what do you mean when you say great? Like, is it a great film? You would say it's one of the best films ever made, or it's like you enjoy it because you watched it as a kid and so you still enjoy it?
I mean, well, it sounds like you're asking me to subjectively rank things subjectively.
No, I'm really just wondering if you think it's actually a well-made movie or if you just enjoy watching it.
I mean, I think a well-made movie is one that entertains. So in that regard, yes, I think it's well made.
That that's a fair. I can't argue with your opinion on that. It's a fair opinion. I don't agree with you. I think there's a difference between like a entertaining movie and a well-made movie. Like Big Trouble in Little China, very entertaining, not well made.
Why? Because it's campy?
It's very kitsch. It's very cheesy and corny, and like they lean hard into that. I find it entertaining. I enjoy the movie, but would I say like it's they put a lot of effort into making this movie art? No, I wouldn't.
But is it not art in and of itself? And if we're going by that, I don't know. All I'm saying is you're
It's
going
the
to sound
same.
like
Well, I
the
mean, it's the
Academy
same.
right
It's the
now.
same. It's the same debate between like is Jackson Pollock an artist the way Michelangelo is? My answer is going to be no, he's not. And a lot of people will disagree.
I wish I was. Wait, Jackson Pollock, he's the splatter.
Paint splatter.
Yeah, I like it. I think it's cool, but I don't know.
It can be cool to look at, but again, if my toddler can recreate your picture, is it hard? Like Michelangelo sculpted, painted, like the things he made were beautiful and are still to this day beautiful because they required a tremendous amount of talent. I don't think that splattering paint it can look cool. I think some of those things look cool, but do they require talent? I don't think so.
I think the talent in something like that is
Getting somebody to buy it.
not well, column A, column B. Yes, in a sense, because all artists are sales people in a sense. But I would say no, the talent is the idea and the
What about the
exit.
guy who taped the banana on the wall?
We're talking about it, aren't we? We both know exactly what you're saying and what it was a commentary on. So
I don't
why
know at all what it was a commentary on. I know that people are dumb.
you know about it? I mean, to me, again, it's what is the message? I think that when you judge stuff like that, art is very much subjective, but it's what is the artist trying to convey and how are they trying to convey it. I think those two people that you mentioned are trying to tell you two very different things, and the way that they represent their emotion and their skill is done very differently. One is more photorealistic, one is abstract. I'm but a simple minded heathen. I know not how to judge these things.
See,
Well
whereas
reasoned.
I don't think you need to have any specific skill to judge art because it's judged by the community. And granted, I realize that a lot of people judge it as art. I do not. I do not think it requires talent, and therefore I do not think it's art. However, getting back to the original topic at hand, your point of Dune. So Dune, whether you like the original one from the 80s or you like the newer one from 2020, what, 2023, I think the first one came out, 2023, 24. The bigger question is again, as an adaptation of a work that exists with an existing plotline and an existing story, what's acceptable? Because I will tell you the biggest issue I have with the 80s Dune, because I don't mind the effects. I don't mind that's not like it's eight. I don't expect it to have the effects of a movie today. It just shouldn't. It's not going to. So that stuff doesn't bother me. But the things that stand out the biggest are number one, that movie's trying to cram a lot more into a lot less time because by your own admission to me off air, you've only seen the first half of the new Dune. Like you've only seen the first movie.
Timo.
You told me a week ago you hadn't seen it. When did you watch that?
No, I have. That's when that's when Timotei's a big douche to Zendaya and gets on the plane. He's like, "Oh, I'm totally gonna go marry like the Emperor to lead my space jihad, but you can be my like number one side chick." Yeah, I
Which is
watched
what
it.
happens in the books, by the way.
Oh, yeah. I
And
mean,
Chani in the only difference is Chani in the books, who is Zendaya in the movie. Chani in the books is totally good with it because it is a political marriage, and he never ever associates with the Emperor chick. She's just there. It was a political marriage, and she hates Chani because she has all of his kids.
yeah, I can see that. And also, I mean, I don't know, choosing
So I mean that was
between.
accurate too. It was accurate except for the fact that they had Zendaya get pissed about it. That doesn't happen in the books.
Well, I mean, she should be pissed. Nobody wants to be the side chick.
No, because she knows it's a political arranged marriage that he's just doing to consolidate power to become the emperor of the universe.
So, but going back to our, that aside, but no, I have seen it. Going back to the original topic around adaptations, though, you read the books and the wiki. I'm assuming after you saw the '80s movie, right?
No, before I've seen the
Oh,
80s. I actually hadn't seen the 80s movie until after I'd seen the new movie.
oh,
I never
interesting.
saw the old Dune until after I'd seen the new Dune. And actually, I think it was talking to you and you liked it so much. I was like, because I had only ever heard my entire life how bad that movie was. And so I just never bothered to
No,
watch it. I
see,
didn't have any interest in it.
the bad one, the bad adaptation for my money is like the Sci-Fi Channel did one in like the mid '90s.
Yeah, I think that's based on some of the later books, like Children of Dune and stuff. But I know what you're talking about. I don't know a lot about that show, but I've heard mixed things about it. But anyway, I had never seen that show until you and I
I mean,
talked. I
like a
saw.
movie covering the events of the '80s and also part one of the Timotei series.
Yeah, so I had never seen the I had never seen the old movie until you and I talked, and you liked it after everybody else had ripped on it. So I was like, I will give it a shot. I actually watched it just because you had recommended it, and I
Ah,
actually don't hate it. I don't think it's a terrible movie. I don't think it is a good adaptation of Dune. I think it tells almost a completely different story.
and I have no way of knowing that. So I enjoyed it, and then when I watched New Dune, which it sounds like is a more faithful
It is a
adaptation,
more it is not 100% faithful, but it is much closer.
my only thought was, how the hell have I been watching this for like 3 hours and I haven't even seen him go, yeah, and shoot, sound waves, and I haven't seen
Yeah,
him
because that's not in the
fight.
books.
Well, it should be, and I haven't seen him fight a Harkonnen yet. I'm like, the pacing in this is awful. So that's very interesting though, because see, I I'm almost not I'm
And the
almost not
pacing in the books, by the
qualified.
way, is why I haven't finished the book.
What's that?
The pacing that you're complaining about in the movie, the pacing in the books is why I have not finished the book.
Yeah, yeah, because it kind of, trudges. It trudges a bit.
Yeah.
And
So, but I guess that gets to the original question of how faithful does an adaptation need to be? Because look, like you can say it needs to be 100% faithful. I don't think that's realistic. I'm going to lean on the side of it should be faithful, but I have very specific criteria if you'd like me to lay them out.
see, because I thought I had a criteria, and I would be like, there are some things that are sacred and shall not be adapted in like the nerdverse. And honestly, had it not already been done, I probably would have said Lord of the Rings is one of those things. So I think I have to retract that point. So I have nothing. Hit me.
So my criteria is this. I think because you're never going to get 100% faithful adaptation. I think that would be beautiful. Everyone would love that. That is a fan of the thing, whether it's Lord of the Rings, 40K, whatever it is. But I don't think it's realistic because of, I'll use Lord of the Rings as an example because it's something anyone watching this show, anyone listening to this podcast can probably relate to because almost everybody in the known universe has seen those movies at this point. And if you haven't, you either live under a rock or are you the biggest contrarian that's ever lived and just refuse to see things that are popular because everybody's seen those movies. But that movie, like you can't, the extended versions of those movies are nearly 14 hours long and they still leave miles and miles of pages untouched because there's things they just couldn't fit in. So I don't think it's realistic to say you can get 100% adaptation, a faithful adaptation. It'd be awesome. I would watch it. I would sit down and watch a 40-hour Lord of the Rings movie. But the real audiences that go to movies would not. So I think it's okay to make some changes for pacing, make some changes so some things are better on screen. Aragorn, for example, significantly different character book to movies. People forget if they haven't read the books in a while, or if they've never read the books, don't know this. Aragorn in the movies, hesitant to become the king. He's very shy about that, doesn't want to do it. He's not sure he's man enough for it. Aragorn in the books knows full well he's going to be king. He's ready to be king. He wants to be king. There is no like
King
what?
sings about it a lot. There's a lot
Yeah,
of singing in the books.
so Aragorn, very different character, but it works for the movie, and they fundamentally, and this is where my first criteria is, you must stick to the main thematic ideas of the thing you're adapting, of the source material. I believe they stick thematically to the characters. They didn't overall change. They changed some details about Gandalf. They changed some details about Frodo and Aragorn, etc. But they didn't change who Aragorn is. Still made Aragorn a purely good, heroic character. That's what he is in the books.
Okay, and with that description, I'll go along with it because, changing his motivation and or desire to be king is a
I mean,
pretty
his motivation, I don't think changes. It's more like his willingness and acceptance
his
of it.
willingness and want, I guess. I'd say that's a
Yeah,
pretty
but
big.
his motivation is always to save the world of men, and that stays. I think that stays in the movies. Like he's hesitant,
Yeah.
but he knows it's something he needs to do his duty, which I think is always what it is in the books. So I think that thematically works. The other thing that thematically works is it's a story about objective good beating objective bad, and like good versus evil, and it's all about the struggle of what that takes to really do the sacrifices that need to be made and things like that. Like they change things in Frodo's story, but Frodo's fundamental character does not change. Samwise Gamgee is changed in the movie, but fundamentally Samwise is the hero of the books in many ways and is the hero of the movie in many ways. So I think Lord of the Rings works because they made changes. They dropped things like Tom Bombadil. They got rid of characters in the Council of Elrond. They got rid of certain things that happened in the stories. They made the Entmoot different, but it didn't really change the story. The story fundamentally is told the same way.
Also, the more I think about it, a, a direct adaptation that would be 100% faithful to the source material, I feel like it would almost be stale in a sense because it would be. I think you almost need to take a little artistic
I agree.
creativity in order to make it something standalone and unique.
I agree, and that's why I said I think my criteria number one doesn't have to be 100% faithful, but it needs to be faithful to the themes and the message of the original work.
I don't have much of a complaint with that one on. So that's a good rule. I'll buy that for $1. I'll buy that for a
Okay,
dollar. Keep
so
rolling. Keep rolling.
criteria two, the adaptation should not take creative license with fundamental plot points. Like basic critical plot points should not be changed. So, for example, the big argument everybody puts on the internet: why didn't they fly the eagles to Mordor? First of all, you're dumb if you think that. It's a stupid idea. Please stop talking about it. You don't understand anything. It's old. Um, but second of all, like if they let's say they did that for sake of argument, like that fundamentally changes the entire story. I will use One Piece now as an example because even this, Andrew, I know you haven't watched the live action, or correct me if I'm wrong, and you have.
I have not.
Um, so I did watch the first season. I gave it a shot. And you, I know, have watched the anime to a point.
Mhm.
You've seen Arlong Park,
Yeah,
correct?
oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
So Arlong Park, one of the most important elements of the Arlong Park arc, in my opinion, is the fact that you find out that the residents of Kokoyashi Village, Nami's hometown, where Arlong Park is, know that Nami is doing all of this to try and save them. And they keep it a secret from her because they don't want to add pressure to her. They don't want her to know that they know. But they all know that she's really hurting and she's suffering for them. In the ad, do you remember that? Okay, so to me, fundamentally important. I think it's important about Nami's character. I think it's an important emotional plot point in that story. In the adaptation, they changed that. They all truly hate Nami and think Nami has betrayed them up until the very end when they beat Arlong. That's when they find out Nami wasn't doing it just because she's a bitch. I think that fundamentally changes. It changes the relationship she has with her sister, who in the live action hated her guts because of this, versus in the anime and the manga where she feels sorry for her sister because she knows the struggle she's going with. It fundamentally changes her relationship with the pinwheel guy. It fundamentally changes her relationship with the whole village, and it fundamentally changes Nami's character arc. I think that's a bad plot point to change. I don't think it added anything. I don't understand what dramatic value they thought they were getting out of doing that. And you changed it in a way that I thought made it worse.
Sounds like they're trying to get more sympathy for her, the character, which okay, the tragic backstory sells. That one to me, I I still can't get over like there's just a certain level to of absurdity in my mind to taking the animated medium, especially something like One Piece, where Luffy willingly and often defies the laws of physics and reality. Like to try and adapt that with human beings, why? Especially when it was already done well. I think that's why I ultimately just can't. Yeah, I have such a struggle wrapping my head around the premise of the show to actually get in the nitty gritty of it. Like I can't get past the first hurdle.
So that's a good segue into my third and final criteria for should an adaptation be made.
Hmm.
Are you adapting something that is already in a visual medium and needs a live action performance? Or if it doesn't need it, will it benefit from it? So One Piece is a great example, especially because, like, obviously right now they're doing the beginning of the story. The story is not grounded, but more grounded early on than it is, say, today. If the show lasted to the point where they were adapting Wano or Egghead or something, and they're dealing with Gear 5. That is going to look ridiculous on screen in a live action setting. At that point, you have 99% of the things that are going to be done are going to be CGI, to your point earlier. It's better just to leave it in an animated medium. It already exists. It's already been executed in a way that is well loved and well liked. So what are you benefiting? What are you gaining aside from your original question, a cash grab to go and adapt it? If it's not doing something that is serving fans or serving the source material in a way that is beneficial, then all it is a cash grab and it shouldn't be made. That's my third and final criteria.
Like in rolling with I would say if you remake something, adapt something, whatever it may be, especially on a remake, you need to improve it. You
I
can't
agree.
you can't just do it for the sake of doing to put out an inferior product. It needs to be meaning better in a meaningful way, I would say.
I agree with that. And I'll give an example, and this is one that you probably won't see coming. I'll give an example of a time where I'm not a fan of remakes. I've made that abundantly clear many times. I think that Hollywood, to your point, has run out of good ideas, which is why the thing I'm probably most excited about seeing in theaters in the last 3 months is a re-release of a movie from 35 years ago, Secret of the Ooze. Uh, that's pathetic. That's the thing I care most about is a movie that's old because at least I know it's good. But point, a remake can be done well, to your point, and here's an example where it was done well. 21 Jump Street. They remade a really dumb TV show from the 80s into a very funny and well executed movie in the 2000s because they took it to an extreme and got ridiculous with it in a way that actually worked, which is why it did well enough to get a sequel.
Oh, that's right. They did. They did 22 Jump
22
Street
Jump
as
Street,
well.
yes. And the post credit scene of 22 Jump Street, by the way, is one of the funniest post credit scenes in cinema history, where they start laying out like all the other Jump Streets, like the
Mhm.
cooking school, ninja school, and like art school. It's funny because, and that's what made that show good. Is they were like, we're remaking and adapting something that was ridiculous by concept when it was made, so we're going to do it, and we're going to do it as a humorous thing. Another good example, Mission Impossible, remake of an old 60s TV show that was more comedy than action, and and Tom Cruise and the rest of them leaned into the whole Impossible Mission Force thing and turned it into a franchise that I think in general is well liked.
To me, though, was always odd after seeing the source show.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, so you were just trying to tie into a name to try and like what, hit some member berries and catch nostalgia? Because otherwise, there's very little carryover thematically.
I do agree with that. I don't really understand why they didn't just call it literally anything else, because I don't know how many people went to the movies because they're like, oh, they're making a Mission Impossible movie. I loved that TV. Like, I don't think I agree with you. Like, I like Mission Impossible as a film franchise, but it's not because I'm like, oh man, I'm so glad they made Mission Impossible into a movie. Now, granted, I didn't grow up when the TV show was on, but I still think even the people who did not watch those movies for that reason.
Yeah. And the one that's popping around in my mind right now, or if I think the remake's better than the original, and I never thought it got much love, was Dread.
Dread was really, and that's interesting because Dread is a remake and an adaptation.
Yeah. Which
Because
is
Judge
anything.
Dredd, obviously a very popular comic book series. The original Judge Dredd movie with Sylvester Stallone, not terrible,
No.
but
Rob Schneider in it too.
yeah, I think he was.
You know, he was one of the
But
criminals.
Dredd with Carl Urban is phenomenal and far better. I agree with you on that. So, like I said, like I think adaptations can be done. I think they can, and remakes can be done. To your point, if you're improving on what you're doing and you're trying to carry the idea forward in a way that's respectful of the medium of the.
That's good. That's a more quantifiable thing. Because I was like, because we can't just say you have to improve upon it. Because that to me is such a punt. It's like way too subjective. But your point about like carrying it on creatively or even, advancing it creatively. Like another example of done good versus done bad in my mind. Because, well, in the done bad, I haven't even watched the whole thing. But Fury Road to Furiosa.
So Furiosa, I didn't hate. I have seen the whole thing, but you're right. Fury Road done well.
Fury Road. Oh, baby,
Fury
that's like
Road
a
done
top
really
tenner
well,
for me.
and it does carry it forward because Mad Max, again, a lot of people forget the original Mad. First of all, the original Mad Max is nothing like people remember. Most
Yeah.
people do not realize the original Mad Max. I know you do. People forget though. The beginning of that movie, he has a family and stuff, and what happens is people kill his family, and he gets pissed, and he's like a cop, and like it's very different than what you get later in Thunderdome, and then it just started becoming more and more ridiculous. Fury Road carries the ridiculousness forward, but in a way that actually does improve on what they made.
And to the credit of the filmmakers and everybody involved, I think the ridiculous was made real because yes, there was a man suspended with hooks in his back from bungee strings that played guitar. There was a flamethrower in front of a wall of amps on a moving vehicle, but it was an actual thing. And you could tell it was real. So you're like, that's ridiculous, that's dumb. And if it's CGI, you're like, writers, take less acid. It's easy to dismiss, but it was so well done. You're like, holy crap, that's real?
That is a really good point, and that is where a lot of it, like a lot of I put a lot of value in. This is less an adaptation thing than just a film thing in general, but I think it's true for adaptations and remakes. Is I put a lot of value in practical effects.
Oh.
I think almost any movie where one of the reasons I think the Mission Impossible movies do so well is that Tom Cruise does not like CGI in his movies, and he does like when he does those crazy ridiculous stunts, he really does them, and they're real stunts. Like it's one of the only movies where stunts are still performed. It's also why John Wick is so popular, is because John Wick uses real fight choreography and stuff, and they take the time to actually do the stunts as opposed to just CGIing a bunch of crap.
now I'm thinking about this and like start poking holes. This is half the fun. But like the movies that we talked about that we liked, a lot of practical effects augmented with CGI is necessary. Like, yes, I know that in some of the large overhead pan shots in Lord of the Rings, they use CGI army orcs, but for the close-ups, that was homies in makeup, and you could tell.
And that's okay because like
Mission
I don't
Impossible,
expect you to go
same,
with two
same.
hundred thousand extras.
No, yeah. Mission Impossible was like same, same. Fury Road, same, same. So there is Star Wars, Star Trek
Star Wars was
was.
not as much, and that's again that's where Star Wars. I mean, you look at the original trilogy, all practical effects, dudes with models doing, that's Industrial Light and Magic was created by George Lucas
Hmm?
for Star Wars, and now it's at one point was the biggest special effects studio in the world. I don't know if it still is. And now you get into like Rise of Skywalker, which I refuse to ever watch. Still haven't seen it. Never will see it. I will die never having seen it. But I mean, like, I know for a fact that movie uses virtually no practical effects. It's like 85% CGI.
Okay, so one that's much heavier in the CGI, but I think you could make the argument for, advancement, and it might kind of blow a hole in some of our theory, at least, about, successful adaptations. But the Spider-Man movies, we've already touched on it very briefly, but outside of, Sony's weird handling,
See, but I don't think there is a lot of CGI in the Spider-Man movies. I mean, like the sweat webs, at least like the Tobey and Maguire ones, I know for a fact. The other ones, I'd have to go and spend some more time to be really smart about this. But like the Tobey Maguire ones are a lot of practical effects. A lot of him actually swinging around on cables and stuff.
maybe I'm just thinking of like Sandman and Jamie
Oh,
Foxx's
there's
Blue
definitely
Electro
there's
character.
definitely CGI in the movies. Yeah, I'm
Mm.
not going to dispute that. But I think a large part of like the films themselves are not green screened.
That's
I think
true.
they're actually on sets.
And Tom Holland, he's an athletic fella, good
Yeah,
balance.
I mean, he actually does flip around
Garfield
and
got
stuff. So I
after
mean,
it too when he was in the role. So okay, so maybe so maybe that's what we're really figuring out here. Is
yeah,
you
I think
got
practical effects goes a long way. But I think the other thing we're figuring out is like if you're making an adaptation or a remake, purely for the sake of like saying, well, this movie we can make money on this movie versus I can do something that's going to out of respect for the thing I'm adapting, I want to spread this to a new audience in a creative way. That normally is done well with passion. Peter Jackson did that with Lord of the Rings. That's like he went I'm sure you know this because I know you like those movies, and a lot of people listening probably know this. But like Peter Jackson went and sold those movies to New Line Cinema on the pit, like thinking they would never let him make it. And when he pitched it as two films because he thought there was zero chance they'd ever be able to get they'd let him do three, and he knew he couldn't do it in one. And he was shocked when they came back and said, like, isn't it three books? He said, yeah. And they said, make three movies. So he went spent years like trying to get the movie made before he made it because he had a love for the source material and a passion behind it. As opposed to what I believe is the case with the One Piece live action. I could be wrong on this, but having watched it, what I believe is the case is people said One Piece is really stinking popular. If Netflix will let us make this because they keep making adaptations that suck, Cowboy Bebop, maybe we can make One Piece and it's popular and we'll make money on it. That's what I believe was their motivation. I do believe there are people involved in the production that care about it, like the girl who plays Nami, who is first of all very hot, second of all seems to be a genuine One Piece fan. Mac and you, the guy who plays Zoro, seems to genuinely be a One Piece fan. But for the most part, I think it's mostly like, oh, it's a cash grab.
yeah, I'm now racking my brain like his the anime to live action adaptation.
Has never been done well.
I mean, I guess the video game isn't actually an anime, but Street Fighter.
Street Fighter was done like it's entertaining. I don't think it's a.
Ah, ah,
I don't know that it's
ah.
adapting. I mean, it doesn't adapt any of the because there are cartoons for Street Fighter, and it doesn't really adapt any of
Yeah,
that.
you're right.
It just really took the characters and put them into something.
Yeah,
So like, I guess Mortal Kombat, but again, that's not an anime. That's
that's also just
more of a video
fighting
game where
game.
they're just taking some storyline from video game.
Yeah,
I think
they're
video game to movie seems to have been not that it's done well most of the time because most of the time they're done very poorly. Doom, Prince of Persia, The list can go on, but have been done better. Anime, I'm genuinely trying to struggle. I think the most popular has been the One Piece adaptation, but I don't think it's that good. And season two is getting ripped on the internet because I think more people are recognizing it's not really good.
All the pictures I've
Cowboy
seen,
Bebop got destroyed. Dragon Ball Evolution is famously bad.
Bleach was awful. Did you see Attack on Titan?
No,
Me neither.
I saw the Death Note was okay. That's probably the closest I've seen to doing it okay, and that's more because Willem Dafoe plays the
Yeah.
so
God, is it really gonna be? Is Ghost in the Shell the best one? Ugh.
Eon Flux is
Ooh,
okay.
with Charlize?
I thought that was Scarlet. Maybe it's Charlize. I don't remember who's in that one.
And Flux with Charlize. Yeah, that's Charlize.
Okay. But that one was all right from what I recall, but it's not great. Again, like Cowboy Bebop, everybody hated. Dragon Ball Evolution, Dragon Ball, hands down the most popular anime of all time. Um, Dragon Ball Evolution, I don't even know what they were doing. It like none of it is good.
Um, Detective Pikachu.
Would you call that one? I mean, would you count that? Detective Pikachu is a decent movie, but it's not. Yeah, I'm trying to think what else is out
Yeah,
there.
I'm on Google now, and like it's some pretty bad scraping. Like there's not.
Yeah, I mean, I think fundamentally you run into a problem when you're trying to adapt an animated work in general.
The number one here is Speed Racer.
I didn't think that was good at all.
I didn't either.
I don't like that ranking is poor. I like Speed Racer. I do not think the Speed Racer movie was good in any way. I think people who were involved in it should be ashamed of themselves. The only thing that was good about that movie was the Mach 5 looked super cool.
Yes, it did.
Like I won't deny that. Like and just like I can admit there are things in the One Piece live action that are cool, but they're but it's not good.
Did you see? You've seen everything. Did you see Alita Battle Angel?
I did see Alita Battle Angel, but I'm not familiar with the actual like the source material, so I don't know if it was good or bad. Like
Oh,
as a film, it's not a bad movie. Uh,
ooh,
as an adaptation, I honestly have no idea.
ooh. See, and this is the problem. I haven't seen the anime. We're gonna have to go find it. Blade of the Immortal.
I've
I
never seen or heard of that.
I liked that movie. It's
Who's in that?
Japanese, subtitled, foreign film.
Huh? I'll have to go check it out. I've never seen it.
It's pretty cool.
I don't mind subtitled movies, so I'll watch it. But I have not seen that. I have never heard of it.
Subtitle being, being able to tolerate subtitle movies, I think is another low key flex. It's like reading. It's like, oh yes, I watch subtitle movies. I watch foreign cinema. You can call it foreign cinema. You don't have to say it's, an anime adaptation. It's like, oh, it's foreign cinema.
See, and what's funny is I like movies dubbed or subbed. I prefer to watch dubbed anime, which I know is like sacrilegious to the anime community, but normally they sub it so slow that you miss screen things on the screen reading it, and so I don't like that.
That's a good point. But then again, it's also I realize that depending on how I start
To
this,
me, it does have a lot to do with how I start. That is true. Like
yeah.
if I hear it in sub first, I won't switch. If I hear it in dub, that's the voices I associate with the characters. Like I started One Piece in dub, I will not watch the sub. And it's not that like the sub voice actors are phenomenal, but like the original voice actors. But I heard it in dub from Funimation, not the 4 Kids dub, the good dub, and I like that's what I associate with it. Like Christopher Sabat as Zorro, and so that's what I'm going to listen to.
Yeah, and I'm, for mine, like my, I guess the anime I got into the most is probably Bleach, and yeah, I started that subtitled, so hearing, the English voices and just the
Yeah, it
pitches are
throws
all
you.
wrong, like no, bad, false, false. Who are these false emperors? Keep
I
going.
will agree with that. Like if I start a show in sub, then I do not switch to dub. It's what I start in, but I do prefer to watch in dub because I like to be able and that's more just because to me it's more I'm more able to focus on the art and like actual animation of a well animated show. Shows that aren't animated that well, I don't care. But if it's a well animated show, I want to watch the show and not read the words.
Have you
All right.
unrelated? Have you pre-ordered Crimson Desert yet?
I have not, and that's why I was gonna. That's a good segue. So I, I don't think we've talked about this on air. We've
Are
gotten close to it every
are you
time.
going to Are you going to buy it for release day?
So that's what I want to talk about
Yes or no? Yes or
because
no? Right now, go.
I
Yes or
don't
no,
know.
and
I
then
need you to convince
justify.
me one way. I need you to convince me because here's the thing. Like Crimson Desert looks incredible. It the I'm not a graphics guy. I don't care about graphics, but it does look like a beautiful game. It looks really big, like Ghost of Tsushima. It looks really immersive. It's an action. It's like an adventure game, not an RPG, not a true RPG. RPG. So again, more like Ghost. And Ghost was probably my favorite game I played in the last 5 years. So I'm really digging it, and the fact that it's like you get to play three completely different characters. I think I wanna pre-order and buy it. But the pre-order bonuses are virtually nothing. So do I want to wait for reviews, Andrew? When again, unemployed, spending as little money as I can. Do I want to go and buy an $80 game pre-launch, not knowing about it? Well, if I'm gonna pre-order and get all the bonuses, I got to spend an extra $10 to get the bonuses.
What? Okay, I got to see what these pre-order bonuses are
It's
before.
just armor sets, which again, it's not worth it. Like normally, I don't pre-order games because like I don't think it's armor sets. I don't really. You probably won't wear them after 5 minutes in the game because they're probably not that good. They're probably good at the start of the game, and then you get something new like 20 minutes in. That's how it normally is.
Yeah,
So do I buy it at launch, not knowing if it's going to live up to the hype, and then piss my money away, or do I wait for reviews, Andrew?
let me.
Knowing that I don't know anything about the people reviewing it or if their opinions are valid.
Yeah, I mean, putting video game reviewing to the side, which has been its own topic, dissected to death. When was the last time you would say a video game had a launch where it lived up to the hype and everybody was like, yeah?
Honestly, this is going to sound like I'm just trying to reaffirm my own statements, but to me, the last time I can think of is Ghost of Tsushima. I hyped that game up to you and my brothers before it launched because I'd seen stuff about it and was super hyped about it, and that game came out, and I think it was every bit as good as people thought it would be.
I wonder when. Come on, I'm looking it up right now because
It was a
2020,
PS4 game, so
2020. Can we really not think of another hyped adventure game launch in the last 6 years that went well?
I can't because like the last one I got really hyped for was Final Fantasy 16. I did buy that at launch. Game's okay at best.
Yeah. I stopped when the guy started spreading like the global depression. I'm like, oh, life imitates art. I'm good. Um, I struggle to think that
Spider-Man, the original Spider-Man game was really, really good, but that came out before Ghost because I had my PS4 from buying Spider-Man because I had the Spider-Man Special Edition PS4. So Ghost came out after that.
for every ghost, it just feels like there's an Anthem, a Valorant, a
Final
Cyberpunk,
Fantasy 16,
which
a
they fixed,
Cyberpunk.
but it, it, I question whether or not like are
That's
triple
why I
A
typically don't buy
games
games
really
at launch.
finished products when they come out anymore? Because we already talked about tie-ins. Like to me, Final Fantasy 15 was not a finished product, and they just kept bolting crap on after the fact, and like DLCs
Hmm.
to expand the story and fill in the blanks. I'm like, that's crap. Like when you get your launch edition game and you have to download like the 20 gig patch, I'm like, kind of feels like you just started printing something that wasn't actually a finished product. And that is overall my concern. I've heard that, for this game, they're going to just send out copies. That's how performance benchmarks are done. Which, if that's the case, great. Skepticism is an all-time high. Very little faith in gaming industry. It just seems like it's all airing towards that AI nonsense, and everybody that actually has a passion and soul got laid off, with the exception of like the 14 French people that made Expedition 33. So I would say maybe we pause if you have something else to occupy your time.
And so you just did exactly what I needed, which was you swayed me. I was kind of already leaning that direction. I've bought very few games at launch for because the other thing is I have very little time to play games. We've talked about that. I have a lot of other things I have to do.
Many
So
children.
I I have three kids. My kids started t-ball, so now I have t-ball practice
Oh,
a couple times at night and
wait.
stuff like that. And
Kids plural or just the eldest?
the two,
Okay, very
both
cool.
boys. So middle boy is just old enough that he made the cutoff to start t-ball this year. So they're both playing.
And he's got an arm.
He does.
Like
The
it
other and the other one was by far the best. Their first practice was yesterday.
yeah.
The other one, the oldest, was by far the best kid out there at fielding.
Hey, that's
I mean,
awesome.
he was really good out there on that. I mean, like obviously he's a kid playing t-ball for the first time, so
Yeah.
best is very relative. Like he's not going to be winning any Golden Gloves anytime soon, but he was very
Or
good.
maybe he is.
Maybe he is. But yeah, and middle kid does have a pretty good arm. So anyway, so that ties me up. Now I got to take him to freaking practices and games on Saturdays too. So I don't have a lot of time to play games. So even if I bought it at launch, I'd probably get like 5 hours in after for the first week after launch anyway. I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna see how it does in reviews. If it lives up to the hype, I'm all about it. Crimson Desert looks incredible. It'll give me something to do that is pausable in my unemployment and gives me a chance to play while my youngest naps. But I'm gonna hold off because I don't see the allure. Again, it used to be too that if you pre-ordered a game, the perks were good enough that having a pre-order was good. But now the pre-order bonuses suck. So why even bother? I remember like 15 years ago, pre-ordering mattered. But it also mattered because they had physical copies of games and they would run out. So, like, I remember you and I going late at night to buy NCAA 2012 so we could come home and be aggressive.
Be
And
aggressive.
so you had to buy the game because if you didn't pre-order it, you may not get a copy. Now it's digital, like they're not going to run out, so I can just wait. So yes, I will wait. Decision made.
Yeah, plus how long is it actually gonna stay at like $70 or whatever it is for the full price game?
Honestly, that's up in the air because some games seem to stay that way forever, and some drop in like 3 weeks. So, and if it drops fast, it probably sucks.
Well, then again, yeah, it's amazing that freaking Nintendo really reset the market with one game.
It really is obnoxious. I What's really obnoxious about it too is there's no reason that games have to be that way. It's literally like, well, that game is this price, so now all games are this price. It's just they've essentially set the price as a cartel, which is illegal by the way. And we'll leave you with that. Game pricing should be illegal because there is no competition. Thanks for listening. We'll be back soon.